I'm not going to dignify it with a response.
You just want to smear me
Okay.
with nonsensical claims, but you can't even answer why you even believe in the smear. What is the trope? You can't answer it, right?
I'll tell you
Being
why.
concerned about Americans dying on
No,
behalf of
I want to come to
Glenn.
Glenn.
Apparently a trope.
Okay,
Everything that
the
offends
general-
Israel
the
is a
general-
trope.
Total hypocrite.
Right.
That's
Okay,
what you
the
are.
general.
You're a total
Listen,
hypocrite.
Stop what you're doing right now. Because what you're about to watch is one of those rare live television moments that you simply cannot look away from. In all the years of Piers Morgan panels, shouting matches, and heated debates, nothing quite like this has happened on screen. One woman, one question, and an entire panel left completely speechless. That woman was Ana Kasparian, not a politician, not a general, not a household name, just someone who refused to let a non-answer slide. And that one question exposed everything. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Progressive Britain so you don't miss the next one.
Piers, you and I have been around a long time. We went through Iraq together. The fact is, I think that Starmer just did not want to be referred, as Tony was, as the British poodle. So I think what he wanted to do is give it a little bit of time, make it look like this is an independent decision of his, rather than being, we do have a special relationship, but we're not tied at the hips, and Britain is not a proxy for the United States. We knew, particularly if the Iranians started firing back, that Britain would come in the way that the Saudis and the Emiratis have come in. And one last comment. Anna, please quit using the tropes on American soldiers. I've had to bury 7 American soldiers. They went into the battlefield.
How is it a trope? How is it a trope? How is it a trope to see American soldiers die on behalf of Israel's wars? How is that a trope? Explain that to me.
Nobody's dying on behalf of Israel.
I'm not going to dignify that with a
Let me
response.
read you. Let me read you what Israeli media has been saying. So American soldiers came under friendly fire in Kuwait. I don't know if any of them have died. Hopefully none of them have died. But on Channel 12, Niv Raskin said this: "We need to emphasize this is an incident involving American forces and not, heaven forbid, an incident involving Israeli forces."
And why is he
What do you have to say to
representative
that?
of anything, Anna? Who makes him representative of anything? Why are you
This is a huge
cherry-picking
figure
him?
in Israeli media.
No,
saying
he's not
this
a
out
huge
loud.
figure. He's a talking head on
Sacrificing
a
American
morning
soldiers
show.
is totally okay, I guess.
Well, okay. Look, I want to bring in.
I would like
Hang on.
I'd like him to answer my question. Why is that considered a trope?
Okay.
Why is it considered a trope to be concerned about American soldiers during these endless, nonsensical wars? Why is that considered a trope?
How many
Explain that
times
to
have
me.
you gone to Arlington and paid your respect
I'm
to
not
American
talking to you,
heroes?
Conriquez, you terrorist piece of crap. I'm talking to the
Okay,
general.
Okay,
Anna.
But tell me why that's
please
considered
keep
a
the
trope.
ad
How many
hominem
times
down.
have you honored
I
the
wanna-
memory of fallen
Hang on.
American soldiers?
Can we
Why
go
is it
back to
considered
the-
a trope?
Have you paraded?
Answer the question.
Can I
many
bring some
times have
order
you
to this,
honored
please?
them?
Jonathan, let me conduct the panel, please, because Glenn's been waiting very patiently. Before I come to you, Glenn, and I will give you plenty of time to speak, I can promise you that. General, just explain why you consider that to be a trope. And secondly, I was really struck by this friendly fire incident because I can't remember, I'm sure you will be able to correct me here, but has it ever happened before that 3 American fighter jets have all been downed in a friendly fire incident, apparently here by Kuwaiti forces by mistake as they went over Kuwaiti airspace? Can you remember 3 American fighter jets going down in friendly fire in one incident?
No. And I'm sure those Kuwaiti soldiers that fired those shots will remember that for the rest of their lives. Luckily, none of the airmen were killed. They got out of their aircraft alive and relatively unhurt. We call it the fog of war.
Yeah, and in relation to the
Why is it a trope?
fact you think it's a... Yeah, I think, be fair to Ana Kasparian, just answer her question, why you view that as a trope, what she said.
I'm not going to dignify it with a response.
The general called it a trope, and that word is doing a lot of work. Calling something a trope means you're not disagreeing, you're dismissing. But Anna didn't flinch. She just said, "Explain it. Tell me exactly why caring about soldiers dying is a cliche." And a retired general who just told this panel he buried 7 soldiers could not answer that. He said he wouldn't dignify it with a response. Let's be clear, that is not a power move. That is what you say when you've already lost the argument and you know it.
You just want to smear me
Okay.
with nonsensical claims, but you can't even answer why you even believe in the smear. What is the trope? You can't answer it, right?
I'll tell you
Being
why.
concerned about
Andy, because you're
Americans
a
dying on
hypocrite.
behalf of
No,
these
I wanna come to
ridiculous
Glenn.
is apparently a trope.
Okay,
Everything that
the
offends
general-
Israel
the
is a
general-
trope.
Total hypocrite. That's what you
the
are.
general.
You're a total
Listen,
hypocrite.
the general's chosen not to respond. That's his right. I want to go to Glenn. Glenn, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you. Look, this is a story. A lot of passions are going to run very high here. You know, I don't have all the answers to what I think is going to happen here. It does, to me, bring back a lot of bad memories from the Iraq War, you know, which was started in many people's eyes who perpetrated it for the best of intentions. Saddam was a bad guy, doing bad things to his people, killing many of them, running a ruthless regime, possessing weapons of mass destruction, and he had to be stopped. You know, I've been on this rodeo of rhetoric before, and it feels to me like we're on a very similar path now. But Iran is an altogether bigger and more difficult scenario than even Iraq was. You know, you've got 220,000 Revolutionary Guard. You have nearly 1 million regular army. You have many other paramilitaries, you know, hundreds of thousands more. This idea that America has, or Donald Trump has, that by doing these strikes, you're going to start a big revolution amongst the people on the ground. You know, they've got to get past 1.5 million very heavily armed people that will try and stop them. And we saw recently they stopped 30,000 of them by killing them. So do you think that the mission here is even achievable? And do you think what has happened is legal?
I am glad, Piers, that we started the segment with Mike Pence, because he is an American elected official who voted for the Iraq War in 2002, 2003, continued to defend it for many years. And unlike many American politicians who did that, who ended up saying they regretted it or it was a mistake, Mike Pence, to this very day, believes that going into Iraq was the right thing to do. And everything that he said in justification and defense of this new war was exactly the things that he and all the other American leaders who wanted this war in 2002 and 2003 were saying then. But it's not just the Iraq war. It's also exactly what happened in Libya. President Obama said, oh, don't worry, this isn't a regime change war. It's just to protect the people of Benghazi, and that it ended up being a regime change war that destroyed Libya. It's what we did in Afghanistan, where we were told, oh, we're just going in to get Osama bin Laden. And then 20 years later, our troops leave, trillions of dollars spent, huge numbers of dead, and the Taliban march right back into power. And you can even go back to Vietnam, where we were lied into that war, lied through that war by many of the same people who telling us now that we have to do this. It is astounding to me that somebody like Mike Pence or so many other people who lied to the public continuously, led our country into disastrous wars, one after the next, are now just speaking as though none of it ever happened. It would be like as if a journalist, I published 8 or 9 different fraudulent stories with fake quotes and fake sources. And then the next day I woke up and said, oh, I know I did those things in the past, but I think I should still have credibility for you to listen to my reporting today, even though I did all of that.
And Glenn pulls back and shows you the pattern. Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Vietnam. Same promises, same language, same faces, every single time. And then he says something devastating. He compares these people to a journalist who published fake stories and walked back in the next day expecting you to trust them again. Same voices, same script. Zero accountability. And somehow, we're all supposed to forget every disaster they caused and just listen again like none of it ever happened. That's not leadership. That's a pattern, and patterns don't lie.
The other point I want to make is I want to ask Jonathan, because I mean, honestly, it is very, very difficult, I have to confess, not just for me, but for the world, as the polls show, to listen to an Israeli official in an Israeli accent give lectures on the need to have compassion for civilians after everything we just watched Israel do, vaporizing tens of thousands of people in Gaza, all throughout the Middle East, attacking countries. But since he is here, I do want to ask him, Jonathan, there's a lot of reports in mainstream Western press about how the IDF has built its primary military and intelligence structures, not just within key residential areas in Tel Aviv, but also underneath. Is it true that the IDF has built key military and intelligence targets within residential areas of Tel Aviv and beneath residential targets in Tel Aviv, the way that the Western media has continuously reported? Is that actually true?
Yeah, I can give a relatively short and plain answer to it. Surprising question. I've read some of your reporting and you seem like an informed guy. But yes, the IDF headquarters, referred to as the Kiryat, is indeed located in Tel Aviv. It is surrounded by civilian buildings, and inside the headquarters, not underneath civilians, but underneath the headquarters itself, is a bunker, which is not a revolutionary concept of militaries. And that bunker is a few stories below ground. Its name is indeed the Zion Citadel, and that is where some of the Israeli officers, generals conduct military operations from. I suppose some of the strikes, if not all of the strikes that are ongoing in Iran today, are managed from there. When Iran targeted that location, they've targeted it now. They have targeted it in the past, and Hezbollah has targeted it in the past, and so have many others. You actually never heard anybody in Israel, definitely not anybody official, say, that isn't okay, and it's not a military target. It is a military target. We cannot move Tel Aviv out of the way, and the base is probably too big to move out of the way. And if it is hit, then it is on Israel, because it is a military target. But there is a very big difference here between doing that, having a properly marked and disclosed location, which is the IDF base. Everybody knows that it's there. And doing what our enemies do, which is hide underneath and between the civilian population, disguised as civilians and using civilians as human shields. There are no civilians above the base used as human shields. And there are no civilians that are told to be in a certain location so that our enemies won't strike.
Okay.
Because that's a cowardly thing to do. Yeah.
Pierre,
okay. You've asked the question.
Can I just make one quick point? Can I just make one quick point about the moral aspect that we raised? You said none of us should be mourning a vicious dictator. And the one thing, the two quick things I will say about that is, we were told that about Saddam Hussein. We were told that about Muammar Gaddafi. Certainly in Libya, we were told, Muammar Gaddafi said that's certainly a good thing. What came after in Libya was some of the worst, most nightmarish dystopia that the world has seen in the past 50 years, certainly far worse than what it had under Gaddafi. And I think a lot of this depends on what succeeds in Iran. Is it going to be this incredibly destroyed state, balkanized with anarchy, where ISIS and Al-Qaeda can fill the power vacuum as they did with the invasion of Iraq? Is it going to be an even worse tyrant like the Shah of Iran was, or some other worse militias and factions? And then the other point is, it's a little bit hard to hear the United States and Great Britain and other countries say, we're doing this for the moral reason that we want to cleanse Iran of tyranny, when our closest allies and partners in that region that we prop up and give military technology and spying technology are at least as savage and brutal dictatorships as Iran is. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the Emiratis, going throughout the rest of the world to Uganda, Rwanda. We love dictatorships. We prop up tyrannies all the time. I think it's very hard to make a moral case, especially as you're bombing civilian places all throughout Iran, that we somehow are doing this because we want to bring freedom and democracy to the Iraqi people, the Iranian people. The last time we did change the government in Iran, we imposed a horrific dictator on them for 20, 30 years called the Shah of Iran. And now we want to do it with his son. So these moral questions are much more complex than, is the Ayatollah a good or a bad guy?
Okay, Goldie Gamara, you were rolling your eyes there.
We should have no moral reasons at all. Again, there was no morality in our negotiations last Thursday for no nukes, no missiles, and no proxies. And I don't think if we start getting into the moral regime change, everything you're describing, Glenn, if we're trying to get into another Iraq, that's the mission creep we don't want to see. We are now using the military force to achieve the end state that our negotiations weren't able to do. And candidly, I also agree with you that we shouldn't completely wipe out the leadership of the country.
Anna asked one question. Nobody answered it. Glenn laid out a pattern of history. Nobody argued against it. And by the end, even the general was quietly agreeing with the people questioning him. That almost never happens on live television. When the other side stops fighting and starts nodding, something true just got said. Thank you so much for watching. It means everything. Drop a comment with the moment that hit you hardest, and share this with someone who needs to see it. And if you haven't subscribed to Progressive Britain yet, do it now, because debates like this don't stay up for long.